Hello, today is August 26th. I'm here to continue with my account of my hospitalization. But first, I've been asked to settle a matter many people have asked. How was it that I came to be in a hospital 15 years earlier with a concussion? Well, the answer is, on February 7th, 1994, I crossed a two-lane street on foot. A car passed by me, and its occupants were calling me names. I called to them to stop and started after them, but they put the car in reverse and knocked me down so that I was hospitalized for 3 days with a concussion, a bruised brain, and a hairline fracture of the skull. So that's why I was in the same hospital then as I was for this accident. That's why I remembered it when I was told that I had to go to the emergency ward to see about my finger injuries. When I got to the emergency ward, the doctors there said that I had to be hospitalized. They gave me no choice. They would not let me go home to get some things I needed, like changes of clothing or prescription medicines, because I had only a small amount of money with me, one set of clothes, and an embroidery project, which I thought I should take with me in case the doctor kept me waiting a long time. The doctor said I had no choice. I had to get intravenous antibiotics because my infection was very bad. They didn't want to risk the infection spreading to the bones or tendons of that finger, or the infection reaching the part of the hand where that finger met it. So I was forced to be hospitalized on the night of July 13th, 2009. So they gave me an intravenous line for the antibiotics. On the second day, I was told that I needed to see a hand surgeon, but she didn't come until late in the day, and she said I needed surgery on that finger. She termed it irrigation and debridement, I think it was. She had to make a cut in the finger near the tip, and also in one of my upper palm lines where the finger met the hand, in order to drain the infection. Unfortunately, she could not give me surgery until the next day because she did not come until late in the day, and I had eaten some crackers just an hour before, so that my digestive system was not completely empty the way it had to be for me to get a general anesthesia. I've had experience being put to sleep in dentist's office for extensive work, and I knew that from experience I needed an intravenous GA, which put me to sleep so that I didn't feel the pain of the surgery, but also kept me with my mental faculties fully alert, not a groggy mind when I woke up. I had the surgery done on Wednesday, July 15th. The surgery did prove successful, but my hand was completely encased in a bandage so that I could not use it at all. This proved very awkward when I had to eat my meals because I could not use that hand to handle the utensils. I had to have a nurse slice my meat, and I had to use my left hand to handle the utensils. 2 days later, the surgeon took the bandage off my hand so that I could use it again, but she had to keep a very conspicuous gauze bandage on the finger and on the upper palm. Once I had had the surgery, I thought I would be allowed to go home, but they would not allow me to go home. Instead, they made me go to a rehabilitation center. I still needed the intravenous antibiotics. Also, once my hand was unbandaged and the sutures removed, they had to immerse my hand in a saline and iodine solution. This too had to be continued at the rehabilitation center. The main problem was staying at the rehabilitation center to get the treatments I needed would be paid by Medicare, but if I went home and a visiting medical person had to do these treatments daily, it would not be covered by Medicare. It would have to come out of my own pocket. Also, before the surgery, I had to have an x-ray made at my hand, and instead of being taken back to my room afterwards, they made me go to special procedures where they inserted a PICC line in the inside of my upper right arm in order to feed the antibiotics, draw blood whenever needed, and also feed in the GA that I needed for surgery. At the rehabilitation center, I was not allowed to go home first to pick up some things that I needed. They took me directly from the hospital to the rehabilitation center in an ambulance. A doctor in charge of infectious diseases interviewed me at the rehabilitation center and said that I had to stay here 10 days. I was very worried and very upset about that because right now I had no performances coming up, but I did have several coming up the first week of August, and I had to emphasize that to the medical personnel at both the hospital and the rehab center. At the rehab center, they continued the intravenous antibiotics and the hand baths, but unfortunately, the antibiotics caused me to have diarrhea. They also made my skin break out in a rash all over my body as though I had German measles. When I had to point that out to the medical personnel at the rehab center, they took me off the intravenous antibiotics and switched me to oral antibiotics so that the director of public relations at the rehab center made me think that I might be allowed to go home sooner. Instead, I was told no, I had to stay the whole 10 days because two doctors, the surgeon and an infectious disease specialist, had to see me at their offices in order to give me the green light. After I'd been at the rehabilitation center 2 days, I was allowed by the staff to go home for about an hour when a family member took me home so that I could do some chores and get some extra things that I needed. I also went back to my home briefly to take care of some other matters after being seen by these two other doctors. Well, the best thing I liked about the rehabilitation center was that it had a large resident cat, a gray striped tabby. His name was Ziggy, and well, I didn't pick him up because I didn't want to risk being attacked again, but he was very gentle. It was also impossible for me to pick him up because he was very fat. In both the hospital and the rehabilitation center, I had to make sure to keep busy with my embroidery craft work and also working on the costume that I have to wear for the Philadelphia Mummers Parade next New Year's Day. If I didn't have a project to keep me occupied, I would have, I probably would have gone completely berserk. Because the costume was so intricate and beautifully decorated, hospital personnel would come into my room at both faculties' facilities to take a look at what I was doing. The surgeon took off the gauze bandages and said I could change them myself now, and thank goodness that the doctor in charge of infectious diseases allowed me to go home the next day. So I finally got the okay to go home on July 31st, but I still had some carryovers in that a visiting nurse would have to come to my home a couple of times a week to change my bandage. The surgeon said that I needed outpatient physical therapy 3 times a week for 5 weeks. And unfortunately, even though I had been switched to oral antibiotics, the rash disappeared, but the diarrhea persisted. And the doctor who prescribed the antibiotics, the doctor in charge of infectious diseases, had to put me on another drug to get rid of the diarrhea. So I'm at home now. I've been there for the past several weeks. I've had several performances which I had to be released in time to meet, so that I'm back performing again. But I'm still having sequels, the follow-up phys ed treatments, and I'm having to get my finger back into operation.